We're back at the Calling DFW. We're going to jump into the final round before we cut to top 8. I'm so excited to see what we've got. We're going to watch the game in 60 seconds. We'll be on in 60 seconds, so set your stopwatch. If we're not on in 60 seconds, it's – oh, wait, just kidding. We're ready right now. Well, I built it up, and I thought we'd do 60 seconds. Forget about it. Let's just go. Ian versus Will. Briar versus Lexi. It's going to be a good one. 10-2. Both players 10-2, trying to battle their way in.
I have a strong feeling that this match is going to have a very, very different tempo than the last one that we saw.
It is going to be very interesting.
Lexi.
Let's see how this unfolds going forward, because as we saw with Oldham versus Lexi, Oldham just took the tempo and kept it, and I wonder if Briar's going to try to do the same exact thing, just take the tempo and hold on to it the whole time.
I would like to note one thing, a very, very standout card from day one with Mark of Lightning. We actually saw Mark of Lightning close out multiple games as like the finishing card, and it's something that I always want to pay attention to now, especially when seeing it on Briar's side or basically any side, any character that can run ball lightning. It is very, 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 very spicy here.
We have start. I guess they're going to draw up and start right about now. And perhaps Will is starting us off. I want to point out really quickly. Whoa, a Seek and Destroy.
That's a personal favorite of mine. I know a little bit about this card, so it's going to give him a +3 here. It's not really going to threaten his arsenal like it normally does, but it's still a 0-cost +3 on the next arrow.
Oh, he's loading a Flake Out. Flake Out's a great one, especially if he fuses it. If you fuse it, you give it Dominate, which means you can load it Shiver and give it +1. But looks like no fuse, so probably just giving Dominate. And this is coming across for 8.
Turn 1, 8 Dominate. I would say that's a pretty – I'm pretty happy if I'm Lexi and I'm shooting that off.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Turn 1, 8 with Dominate. You can't filter your hand. Oh, just kidding.
Ooh,
you can filter it a little bit with a Summerwood Shelter.
Putting in work. Definitely seeing a lot more Summerwood Shelters here.
Yeah, red Summerwood Shelter makes this block for 7, so you only take 1. What a fantastic turn 1 get. Drawing into a Summerwood Shelter and your opponent trying to immediately just deal a bunch of damage. You can say maybe a little bit of damage, and I get to see some more cards from my hand.
Yeah, I mean, Summerwood Shelter is it's something that I've come to respect a lot more watching the last couple games. Definitely respecting the Summerwood Shelter more. It's something I'm going to consider more in my drafts, both playing with Briar and playing with Oldham.
Blue Flash. Flash is a great card to pick up in draft specifically for Briar, because it's great for both of these heroes because both heroes can play it here. But jamming it down for Briar, it does one of the 2 non-attacks needed to create an Embodiment of Lightning. It gives natural go again to something that you may follow up with. Now, it is a little bit more tricky to play because it does only hit the, I think, a 2-cost and above. But there's the creation of the Embodiment of Lightning token that we were just saying.
Yeah, I mean, Flash is such a sweet card because, like you were saying, it does everything you want to do with Briar. It's a non-attack with go again that gives your attack go again that lets you follow up with a Rosetta Thorn.
It's interesting here because this is the... I think we saw it a moment ago, a block with the Rites of Replenishment. This is the second Rites of Replenishment in 2 turns that we have seen, and that's an underutilized card in Sealed, one that maybe doesn't have the utility you'd want it to have, but actually is pretty fantastic here because it just pushes a decent amount of damage and gets buffed by the Weave Lightning.
Yeah.
Go again off of that, creation of the embodiment does allow you to go 2 and 2 with Rosetta as well.
It's actually a pretty big turn for me, Ian. Lots and lots of damage.
A fantastic turn 1 going second, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And
I think he just took everything,
Will just took everything.
And he flips over a red ball lightning. Now, this is weird because when you flip over a red ball lightning, you give go again to your next attack, and you need something like this to benefit because you don't want to play the ball lightning.
Yeah. So this is a 6-attack Icy Encounter. Will does have 1 resource floating from that Winter's Bite. And so 6 attacks, 1 resource floating with go again. Ian can see the ball lightning. He can just see it sitting in the arsenal. So that's basically just a free next attack. I mean, Will could follow it up with something else, but he could also just follow up with ball lightning and then, do some Shiver shenanigans.
Yeah, so it's interesting because he is floating 1 resource, which tells you that you can... Oh, he's going to just take the 6 and then create a Frostbite, plays the ball lightning, and then you can keep the combat chain going here by using your 2-card hand, arsenaling an arrow, and going from there. Is he going to take this too? He's going to take 4 from the red ball lightning.
This is one of those games where it's just like haymakers, back and forth. two decks that just want to deal as much damage as possible. Absolute aggro.
I feel like
just punching each other back and forth.
That's the lightning archetype, isn't it?
Yeah,
Lightning,
I think so.
What do you think about that?
I think that's 100% true. As someone who plays a lot of the lightning archetype, I feel a little greedy when I do it, but I also feel like it might just be the way to do it.
Flakeout comes across with Dominate, I'm guessing, and the Dominate is going to push the damage, and it's going to also push Ball Lightning's effect as well. He just took it. He's at a casual 3. This is turn 2. This is turn 2.
This is turn 2 of a limited game. We have a Bramble Spark. So this is a red Bramble Spark. It will cost a resource because he has that Frostbite token. You get rid of that Frostbite token now. And this will, doesn't look like he's fusing it, so it's not going to pump the attack, but it will deal an extra arcane.
Bramble Spark into Ball Lightning, and that's the reason maybe that's the reason he couldn't block very much, because he had a Ball Lightning in hand and a Bramble Spark that blocked for 2.
There's also a lot of Lightning cards that just don't block, like Ball Lightning here.
Lightning Press as well could be in his hand, something like that. So if you see this and then you see the Ball Lightning come down, then you have to start thinking, okay, is there a second Ball Lightning or is there a Lightning Press in hand? Because if you chose not to block, I can get that because you want a big attack. Or maybe you just didn't have the capability of blocking.
On board, if you're Will here, you can see on board, he's attacking with a Ball Lightning. He has the ability to follow this up with a Rosetta Thorn that will deal 2 arcane damage, and he also has his Mark of Lightning, which can also deal 2 arcane damage, or 2 damage. And so on board, we have like basically 4 free damage.
Oh, goodness. This is crazy.
This is a very, very rough spot to be in. And honestly, Will can't do a lot to prevent some of this damage.
And this is why he took. This is what I was saying a second ago. Ball Lightning in hand. Basically,
Ball Lightning.
His only block last turn that we've seen thus far was a Bramble Spark blocking for 2 plus whatever Embodiment of Earth tokens he had created.
Here's the situation, too. If Will decides to block this Ball Lightning, Ian can activate his Mark of Lightning and deal just 3.
Yep.
That's rough. Because, like, you can either just take it and take the damage anyway, or force him to use the... there we go.
He's going to pop, and it's going to deal 3 damage. It deals 1, but then Ball Lightning yellow replaces the effect of 2, and then Ball Lightning red replaces the effect of 3, so it's 3 there. And then Rosetta Thorn comes across for 2 and 2.
Yeah, that's another 2, like free 2 damage. At this point, I'm not entirely sure what Will's life total is here, but he's taken a decent chunk, right? So he took 3 from the Mark of Lightning. He took 2 from the Bramble Spark.
That's right.
And then he's going to take another 2 from here. Yep. So I think his life total is around 2 right now. I think he's taken about 7 damage this turn.
Yeah, I'm sure the life totals will catch up here in just a moment as we see how he decides to block this out. It looks like he's down to 4 at this moment. If he blocks with another card from hand, he's left with a 1-card hand, which means you're just arsenaling. And so maybe he wants to try and set up lethal. I mean, your opponent's at 3. So if you just take the 2 here, you go to 2, and both players are just in kill zone. If you have... Oh, there's a Code of Frost activation. That tells me he doesn't necessarily have lethal here. Or maybe he does, but he wants to play incredibly safe. Because if you have a 2-card hand, you arsenal an arrow, like a red arrow, and you give it Dominate, then they block with a card from hand, take some damage, you Mark of Lightning for the win.
Yeah, I think you play the Code of Frost here no matter what. Like, if you think you can win, you play it. If you think you need to stall out, you basically play it.
Oh, arsenaling the the Buzz Bolt for
Buzz Bolt.
5 Dominate. This means you're going to take maybe some damage. He does have 2 Embodiment of Earths, so a block with a non-attack means that you're blocking 4 and taking 1.
Those Embodiment of Earth, man, like they're a big deal, especially in this situation. So. Yeah, I mean, I think it's also very interesting, right? Like, do we pop the Mark of Lightning on this turn?
Well, you don't have lethal here is basically what we're looking at. Because he can block with a non-attack, if he has a non-attack in his hand, he blocks 4 of the 5 if this has got Dominate. So that would push 1 damage. The blocking from hand and triggering a Mark of Lightning pushes another point of damage. That puts him at 1, and then you lose, if you're sitting in Will's position, to 2 points of arcane damage.
Like, you're at 2. This is the kill zone here. Like, any string of actions that lets you swing with that Rosetta Thorn for the extra 2 arcane is lethal.
Yeah. And so you're basically Hail Marying right now and hoping that your opponent's either not got the non-attack so that they have to block with a 3-block take 2 and then take 1 from Mark, or that they have to block in such a way that they can't present 2 Arcane and that you can at least try to block out and dominate another arrow for the win next turn.
You got to think Ian is just trying to think, what do I need to block with here to...
Maybe he didn't even give it dominate. Maybe he gave it +1 trying to get more cards out of hand. It's very possible that that was the choice too, and it looks like that might be it.
Do have a double block, yeah.
So double blocking here, and this would block everything out. You could pop the Mark here, but you might just save it as well for a dominated arrow. So if he chose +1, which is what it looks like it is, this was coming for 6.
Or possibly trying to save the Mark for your own Ball Lightning if you're running one as well.
Yeah. And this is where you don't want to draw into your own Ball Lightning.
No, that's true. No,
he's just going to swing for 2.
Okay,
swing
so
for 2.
If you're Will, I think you're pretty happy about this, right? Just swinging for 2.
Yes.
It's just too physical. No arcane shenanigans going on here. So I think you're very comfortable just blocking a little bit. Ian's already used his own Mark of Lightning. He doesn't really have anything else super threatening on board.
So this is presenting a casual lethal.
Yes.
We should point out that this is still a lethal play. Your opponent blocks this out with a card from hand. There are no tricks I can think of that push over the top.
Yeah,
Lightning Press doesn't fall onto weapons, right?
It only works on attack action.
Right. So there's no way to pump this after the fact that I can think of.
I don't think so. I think you're pretty comfortable here just blocking with a 2-block card and not having to worry about getting got, you know? And he's probably just thinking, okay, I've been presented a gift almost. Like, this is not lethal. I can block here.
Oh, I love this. He's using the Ragamuffin's hat to search for a better card. Ragamuffin's hat. This is the first time in the entire tournament that a player has used Ragamuffin's hat, and I love it.
Ragamuffin's hat is a very, very tricky card. You can only activate it if you have 1 card in your hand, and it lets you, I think, draw a card, but then you have to put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck afterwards.
That's correct. So let's see what he does with a 3-card hand, no arsenal, trying to find 3 damage. A dominated arrow, maybe buffed up, might be what what gets him across the finish line here.
I think there might be a line here, depending on what Will has in his hand. I mean, he's got that Mark of Lightning for that extra little bit of damage.
Thinking about using a Honing Hood, there's nothing in Arsenal, but that does allow you to place a card in your arsenal because the wording on Honing Hood says take a card from your arsenal. And look, he's going to flip up a Winter's Bite. That is a really interesting choice because the Winter's Bite can come out of Arsenal and be played after the fact. And it does force your opponent to discard a card or pay 2.
And this is a very controlling play from Lexi, actually.
Whoa, look at this. He pitches an Arcanic Shockwave.
Oh, that's scary. If you're Will, that's scary, right?
Loads a Buzz Bolt. I wonder if he's choosing Dominate this time or if he's still just choosing the it looks like Dominate. And there, look, is that the block for the win? It is
the win.
The line he was looking for last turn. He finally gets it there. He plays the red Buzzbolt, comes across for 5 with Dominate, a 3-block from hand, no embodiment of Earth token to block 4 in that scenario, allows the win with the Mark of Lightning because of the block from hand. That is really, really good sequencing and game planning and turn sequencing from Will to pick up the game as Lexi against Briar. That was a cool game.
I really love that match because it was like these huge haymakers, one after another, and then we kind of slowed down. We kind of slowed down for the last couple turns and tried to eke out whatever advantage they could get. I really like that. I thought it was a very, very enjoyable match.
I feel like that is the quintessential Tales of Aria match. I feel like I've played that type of match in this sort of meta, sealed meta, so many times, or limited, I should say, meta, so many times, because I feel like that's the way that these games oftentimes can unfold. I hit you for a bunch, you hit me for a bunch, now we're both low, and we're both just trying not to die who's going to get there. It's exciting.
I can tell you from experience, I have been that Lexi player, getting that Briar to like 1, but in my experience, it's usually the opposite. They usually like, here's some arcane damage and you're gone.
I'm going to play a Sigil of Suffering. Goodbye. Game over.
Oh, well,
Shake hands.
Yeah, I love to see it.
So we will jump into one more match before we cut to top 8. So stay with us for a little bit. We're going to jump right into that after this short break.